This video is about how do you turn fighting into places of understanding, and instead of conflict being contentious, can it be places of deep connection where couples grow closer together? Understanding our thinking styles and our approach to conflict has helped us resolve conflict in a healthy manner.
So here are the 4 thinking styles to help you recognize the weakness that you or your partner may have now before you're in the conflict, so that when you get there, you recognize it and can stop your fighting and turn it to understanding.
Yeah. So the first kind of thought process is you can either be an external processor where you're verbalizing your thoughts, or an internal one where you're thinking your thoughts. And then after that, you can be rapid, thinking real fast, or a careful, meticulous thinker. And when you combine these, you can be external rapid, external careful, internal rapid, internal careful. I'm an internal rapid processor. Megan is an external careful processor. Now, how these play out really influences how conflict happens. So, being an external careful processor, what does that look like?
So for me, I don't even know what I'm feeling. I don't know how to put words to it until I've talked through it out loud for a while. And I might have to repeat some things that I'm feeling over and over until I realize, come to conclusion, oh, this is why I'm feeling this way. This is what I'm feeling. And it was started here and it led to this place. This is where I need to go to resolve my feelings.
That's really good. I'm going to play off of the opposite corner of being an internal rapid processor. When you get in that mode of hashing out your feelings, I often am like, hey, we're saying the same things over again. Like, let's just end this. Like, we've had this conversation. Do we need
Not
to talk
resolved.
about it? Yeah. So that's the internal rapid side of me, where I am making assumptions, inferences, and conclusions pretty rapidly. And so Megan can be here in the conversation when I've already leaped here, which isn't a good thing, because it's not like we're walking alongside each other in the conversation, in the conflict. So an external rapid, I assume you can relate on some level to that. Well, what does that look like?
I'll speak to the external part, that somebody who has to say something out loud to understand how they're feeling.
Yeah. But I think they're also going to be making conclusions quickly. But when they're talking out loud, I think their conclusions are going to feel like attacks. Because they've come to judgment and they're like, XYZ, you did wrong, because they've already processed their feelings and have diagnosed this is what caused it. And so a lot of times an external rapid processor, instead of being like, here's the problem, or here's what caused the hurt, we need to repent and forgive each other, they can get to a place of blaming and judgment, I think. Where like an internal rapid processor, in the same way, instead of like external verbalization of that judgment, I think I can get to a place of disdain would be like a tough word, of like, I'm assuming bad intent and all that.
So what I've noticed from you is that when you're upset, you don't tell me.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. That's accurate, yeah.
But I know something's off, because I know that there's a disconnect somewhere, and I'm like dragging it out. I'm like, hey, are you okay? What's going on? And sometimes you don't tell me right away because maybe you don't think you have to, or you think that I'm gonna unleash a volcano on you.
I think you're right on the nose, where I can shy away from the conflict or be stubborn, and you notice I kind of withdraw a bit emotionally, and then you start knocking on the shell as I'm in my turtle shell. But I think I have this underlying fear at times that I can't win in this argument. Like, I'm always gonna lose. And I think that comes from, like, in conflict, we can see it as a place of connection or disconnection. We can see it as a place where we both can win-win, or there's a loser and there's a winner. And I have that false idea, that lie in my heart and my mind at times that I have to fight against, knowing that we are coming to this conflict so we can reconnect because we have a mutual purpose in this. We're sitting on the same side of the table. We're not attacking one another. And as a man in this society nowadays, I think it's like happy wife, happy life. And the husband just needs to, take the blame, take the fall on the sword. And I get the reality of like, husbands, pick up your cross daily and die for your bride like Jesus died for the church. So yes, I understand that. But sometimes I feel like conflict is a losing proposition, so I shy away from it as an internal processor.
Well, if you don't ever talk through the conflict, there's not a winner at all. It's lose-lose because there's disconnect and you can't get that back. I know a couple who sat down after 25 years, they wrote a list of all the things they didn't like about each other and got divorced. Because after 25 years, they never had those conflicts in a healthy way or at all. Maybe they just never talked through anything and they're like, oh, yeah, all this has been building up all this time. No, I want to talk about it now. I want to get through it. I want to feel connected with you. I love you. And I don't want to be bitter 25 years from now.
So good, because if you don't discuss it, it will ultimately divide you. And ladies are so good at this because they're constantly thinking about the health of all their relationships in their life, and they want to bring resolution. Why I think men can be passive in that area, which, raise my hand, I have been in our marriage at times. Thankfully, I'm pretty healthy for the most part, but it's in these stressful sleep deprivation states of taking care of a baby at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. After 8 months, it builds up. But take that same concept of sleep deprivation and think about secret place deprivation. Are you spending time with God? And if you're not, you're going to be losing fruit of the Spirit to be able to have healthy conflict.
Absolutely. Well, you said women like to come to a resolution, but we don't always do it the right way, ladies. Sometimes it's an emotional explosion. And how disrespectful can a man feel from that? How put down can a man feel from that? Can your husband feel if his wife isn't coming to him lovingly, graciously, mercifully, and trying to resolve that way? So if somebody in the relationship is trying to resolve, do it gracefully, do it mercifully. And if somebody is trying to resolve to you, be humble enough to say, okay, they're not attacking me. They're trying to resolve the relationship. And we need to turn our fighting to understanding.
So right here, this conversation kind of highlights the turning point in our conflict. When I see this happening, I know it's turning back to being a healthy conflict. When I raise my hand, not literally, but figuratively, and be like, I did this wrong. Like, we both start taking ownership of how we contributed instead of blaming each other. And, like, at that point, I'm like, oh, we're going to make it through this. When one of us have just got the humility to apologize, which is so tough.
It is. I mean, it's just like this feeling of like, if I humble myself and apologize, I feel like I'm giving up control, which you are. You're giving up, who said that Navy SEAL guy, giving up your right to hurt them back.
Yeah.
And you're giving up your right, you're giving up your, it's not really a right to hurt somebody, but you're giving up your justification to be mad, to hurt them, and you are forgiving them while you calm down, you humble yourself and say, I was wrong.
Yeah. So we have one more thinking style to get to, an internal careful processor.
I think this one you have to be really mindful of, especially if it's yourself. Because I think it's a dangerous one, not in the sense that it's not beautiful and God made, but in the sense that I think an internal careful processor are the ones who are going to have those conversations in their mind that don't exist.
That's,
and we all
that's
have
really
done
good.
it.
Yeah.
But just think like they are thinking through all the things that they're feeling.
And they're playing out different scenarios that never happened.
And the other person has no idea what's going on in their minds. And you get to a week down the road after the conflict has played out in their mind and the other person has no idea. And it's just way out of proportion. But on the flip side, you could, in a healthy way, explain to your partner, I really need some time to think through this. And you have to promise that you're not going to put words in their mouth in your own mind. But maybe you just need to think through how you're feeling, why those feelings began, what do you need to do to resolve those feelings?
Yeah, I think being clear that I'm not being passive. I want to solve this problem, but I need time to process because I have to do it on the inside. So if we can reconvene in an hour or so, like verbalize this part because you don't want to leave your spouse guessing where you stand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I'm in this. We're going to do this, but I need time.
Yeah. I think of all people, that person needs their space. That's the person that says, hey, I need to go for a 30-minute drive and I'll be back at 8:30.
And on the flip side, the external rapid person would be like, no, you are just shying away, being passive. Like, I'm here to, like, talk this beef out.
Yeah.
Hey, give them time. We all think and process things differently, and having awareness of this going into conflict is so helpful because now you can be empathetic.
Yeah, and if your spouse is like me, who needs to talk it out for as long as it takes, just be patient and just talk it out. Your spouse or partner is like Dustin, who is an internal rapid processor. Just give him grace to open up.
Yeah, and this is where you need to step towards each other. Like, my internal rapid processor, I need to learn to be a little more external and verbalize what I'm thinking. And knowing this, you can eventually stop assuming bad intent and start assuming good intent. Like, they're not meaning to hurt me.
Yeah.
They have good intent here.